What's going on, guys? Welcome back into the Pittsburgh Pirates franchise here on MLB The Show 22. In today's video, we have a ton to go over, a ton to recap, and a ton to talk about with the team. I will consider getting us some gameplay in the latter half of this video, but that may not happen today with how much we have to address with the team. So this is going to be a little bit less of a gameplay-centric video or anything like that, but a lot has happened with the team, so let's go ahead and dive into it. The absolute first thing that I need to update you guys on is where we stand within the division and where we stand with regards to where we want to be on the season. So things have shaken out to be a bit more realistic now within the division. And the way that it's working right now is the Brewers are on top at 51 and 41. The Cardinals are sitting at 47 and 45. The Pirates are sitting at 44 and 46. So we are still hanging around that 500 mark, but not quite at 500 as we speak. The Cubs have finally fallen back to earth at 43 and 48, and the Reds are all the way down at the bottom at 36 and 54, which is generally a pretty good result for us. What we want to be able to do is we definitely want to be able to compete with the Cubs and Reds and be able to not finish last in the division. We want to show that progress. And so we are doing that as we speak right now. The Reds are looking like they're pretty much going to lock up the last place in the division, but the Cubs are falling hard right now. Now we are at 44 and 46, but we do have some opportunities here to pick up wins against the Marlins and the Rockies, who we should be able to compete with before the All-Star break here. And that's where we're at on the calendar. We currently sit just a week before the All-Star break, and we're really only going to have one potential All-Star within that game, and that's going to be Bryan Reynolds. Now, we might have somebody like Mitch Keller sneak onto the ballot, but I doubt that's going to happen. Really, Bryan Reynolds up there at the top of the screen is our only hope for an All-Star, and he certainly deserves it. I would say Ke'Bryan Hayes might have gotten a bid here as well, simply because of how good he is defensively. Yeah, you can see he's not far down this list. His batting average just isn't quite good enough yet to be meaningful enough to be higher up on this list. So he's great defensively, but his bat needs to come along a little bit. So we do at least have one All-Star representing us in that game whenever it comes around, and we are pretty close to the All-Star break and eventually the trade deadline, which is going to affect some things for our team. And we're going to get into the roster here in a moment because there's been some important changes and some important things happening with the team that are causing us to have to consider where we stand and where our prospects stand within the organization. The first thing that we got to take a look at with our roster is going to be the injured list. And we got two massive injuries at basically the same time. So one game, we got a season-ending injury with second baseman Diego Castillo. And the following game, or vice versa, I can't remember exactly what the order of events was, Michael Chavis, our other second baseman, goes down with a fractured shin, out 1 to 2 months. So that is a massive hit to the team. And that results in us having to look at the roster here and make a determination of what we need to do at that second base position. So what I decided to do was a combination of two things. Number one, I decided to move Cole Tucker back over to second base. He is an infielder by trade. I mean, he could play pretty much anywhere, but he wasn't playing as well as I would have liked him to out in the outfield. He's still not playing well with the bat. He plays well defensively. So he's going to be our primary second baseman for right now. And ultimately, we had to call up Nick Gonzalez, who does have a 2022 timeline with the Pittsburgh Pirates. This might be a little bit sooner than expected. It could be later than expected. But nonetheless, it was a move out of necessity. And we had to look at our roster. We had to see who was a potential candidate to come up to the majors for us. And the other decision that we decided to make was to bring up left fielder Matt Frazier. Now, the problem here is that his bat is not doing as well as I would have liked it to down in the minor league system. This is more so a call-up out of age and realism. And I would not traditionally call this guy up just straight from AAA based on his performance or anything of that nature. I would look elsewhere. The problem is a lot of our prospects out there are young. And so we're going to have to look to fill these spots if Frazier doesn't play well, or Nick Gonzalez doesn't play well, or Cole Tucker continues to not play well. And there are a couple of different directions that we can go in order to do that. The problem becomes the age, the overall, the attributes that these players have. The first one that I want to take a look at is actually Travis Swaggerty. Travis Swaggerty does have a 2022 timeline to the Pittsburgh Pirates based on various reports. Now, the problem is he's had surgeries, he's had setbacks. He was supposed to be their top outfield prospect. The question mark is, in real life, can he actually get there? And it's looking less likely. But in our league, it's looking more likely. He's batting .269, which is solid. He has 4 home runs. He's doing pretty well, all things considered. I probably would have naturally called him up before Frazier simply because of his performance down in the minors. Now, we are going to potentially look his way if we need to call somebody up, and that is worth considering. Now, the other thing to consider here is a potential purely defensive call-up to the majors, somebody that can plug and play on defense well for us, and Frazier is certainly not bad defensively, but the other option that we have is 19-year-old Bubba Chandler, who played phenomenal in Double-A. And again, I'm just simply shying away from calling him up too soon because he's only 19 years old, but he's playing phenomenally. He's only batting .206 in AAA once he came up to AAA, but that's beside the point. He would be a fantastic defensive addition to the team because of his arm, because of his fielding capabilities, and potentially the ability to utilize him as a two-way player as a relief pitcher. Now, I'm personally not going to do that. I know a lot of people want me to utilize him as a pitcher. I have other avenues of addressing our starting pitching rotation and our bullpen. I want to use that arm and that athleticism and that power in order to make him a true corner outfielder for us for the future. I just think it's too soon to call him up, but he would be an interesting call-up to help us out defensively, and he'd probably really improve upon what we're actually putting out there in the outfield. I wanted to give a quick update on Tucupita Marcano and just illustrate the fact that he is still batting over 300 for us. This was a crazy good call up for us, and we made the right move, and ultimately we can see that it's paying off for us. Now, he has no power, which is okay. He's going to be mainly a contact type of a guy, and that works because of his athleticism, and he's a very, very good defensive player as well. So that kind of lends itself to not necessarily needing a defensive player call up, and why I'm not calling up Bubba Chandler just yet, because Cole Tucker is also a very similar player in that regard. So we have those players on the roster, and Marcano has played well for us at bat as well. And the other one that I wanted to just mention here was Ji-Hwan Bai, who is batting .240 and 200 at bats down in the minors. He's another one that is much like Tucupita Marcano, who I feel like has the contact and the athleticism and the defensive stats that he would be a valuable contributor to our major league team because of the combination of what he has going on with his ratings. The only problem is, again, this is a 22-year-old. Some sites say that he does have a 2022 ETA. Some sites say a 2023 ETA. So I'm a little bit more hesitant with bringing him up too soon. He also does have that A potential. He's a 69 overall. So I really feel like he's going to get a lot out of his development down there in the minor leagues. And I think we should probably leave him down there. Now, the one player that I am very hard-pressed not to call up, and you guys probably have already guessed who it is first baseman Mason Martin. Mason Martin is playing out of his mind in the minor leagues. Mason Martin is our number one prospect at this point within our organization, and he's a player that we need to have up at the major leagues at some point in the near future, whether it's the end of this year in September call-up time or it's next year. He's definitely going to be up next year. We can put that argument to rest. I don't care what you guys say. I have a guy that has crazy power, that is batting 309 in AAA. He's going to be up for this team next year, and he's going to be our first baseman. Unless something drastic happens, that is the simple fact of the matter. Now the question becomes, between here and then, what do we do with him? So I don't mind leaving him here and letting him continue to play at this high level before we call him up at the end of this year or next year. The only problem with that is we are in need of players to help us out at the major league level, and we're in need of players in the infield. And Mason Martin fits the bill. I know he's not great defensively. He's not a great athlete or anything like that, but we're also in need of power. That's the one thing that we lack as a team. We just simply don't have enough power to compete with the other teams in the league, and Mason Martin has that. So naturally, he would have been my first choice to call up. He does in some places have a 2022 timeline, but most places say it's a 2023 timeline. So I go back and forth on this one, and I would certainly like to hear your comments down in the comments section below about what you would do with all of these prospects and the players that I've named so far. We do have other prospects that just simply aren't performing that well, like shortstop Liover Peguero and players like that aren't necessarily ready for MLB action. They haven't performed that well in the minors, but I really do want to play with Mason Martin sooner than later. I just don't want to rush it too quickly. Finally, I do want to address our catcher position because this is where things get very interesting. Finally, Roberto Perez came back from injury, and he's been actually playing pretty well since coming back from injury, batting 206 compared to the 150 or 146 that he was batting before. So it's a step in the right direction. It's not good, and we're never going to get great batting production out of him, but nonetheless, it's a step in the right direction, which I appreciate. Reese McGuire, batting 257, has been solid for us. I have no plans on moving on from him. I project our future catchers to be both Reese McGuire and Henry Davis, but this is where things get interesting. Henry Davis in AAA at 22 years old, just drafted to the Pittsburgh Pirates, is a 78 overall now with a potential, and you can see his bat is coming along. He is getting that 63 contact versus lefties, 58 versus rights. He's just looking good. He's looking like he's going to be up at next year's time frame, and really that's what we're pushing for with this franchise right now. Is let's get to next year. Let's try to keep this team competitive this year with the bottom of the division. Let's stay out of last place. Let's aim for 500. And next year, all of these guys are going to be primed and ready to take over for this team. And Henry Davis is one of, if not the most exciting prospects that we have on this team. I am so excited for the combination of Henry Davis, Mason Martin, and then Bubba out there in right field. I think that those three, combined with the guys that we already have up, like O'Neill, Key, and Brian Reynolds, are going to be a fantastic team that will allow us to compete for playoff positioning within the next season. Ultimately, though, that's going to bring me over to the pitching staff, and David Bednar has been good for us in this closing pitcher role. What I will say is that I've been making some minor moves, minor trades, in order to bring in prospects that we can utilize for the future. We brought in Jordan Holloway. Now, I don't remember exactly what the trade was. This might have been Jose Quintana or something of that nature, just to get us a mid-range type of relief pitching prospect. Right now, we have him in that closer role for AAA. I'm excited for the potential that he has for us in the bullpen. He's got a really good arm. And then Yerry De Los Santos is coming along nicely as a player as well. What we've done, though, and what we're going to continue to do is we're probably going to trade away Chris Stratton at some point. Hopefully a team at the end of the month here, when we approach the trade deadline, is going to be looking for somebody to round out their bullpen. And I've already identified various teams that are going to be looking to do that, and teams that we can trade with. It's just a matter of what we get back in return for them. Dwayne Underwood Jr. has been playing well for us and is up to a 71, so he's going to be a solid contributor to us for the future. And we've then gone on to have Aaron Fletcher, Luis Oviedo, and Max Kranick to round out our bullpen at the current position that we're in. So we've moved on from some of the older names within the bullpen, just doing minor trades to make things happen, and therefore getting these younger younger guys now involved midway through the season, and I like what I'm seeing out of some of these guys. Luis Oviedo is somebody that I called up earlier in the season, didn't do too well. I sent him back down. I brought him back up again, and now he's playing pretty well for us. And then Max Kranick is one that was a starting pitching prospect that we ended up bringing up to play relief pitcher for us. So I like the prospect that he has. I think that he could be pretty good for us in the bullpen. I really like that combination. So we're going to be looking to move on from Chris Stratton, who I think we can get a decent value for, and then maybe some of these other guys that might have some value to another team, especially at starting pitcher. I really hope that somebody makes me an offer for Zach Thompson, JT Brubaker, maybe Bryce Wilson. I don't know how to feel about him yet, but really JT Brubaker and Zach Thompson, I don't mind either of them as a pitcher, and I wouldn't mind either of them hanging around for the future for us. But realistically speaking, our rotation next year is going to be Mitch Keller, Roansy Contreras, Quinn Priester, probably another young guy. Like, I really want to give Adonis Medina a try, and that really only leaves spots for one of these guys, whether it be Brubaker, Zach Thompson, or Bryce Wilson. And we also have other guys like Tanaj Thomas that are in the pipeline, and who knows what we might get out of a potential trade, and who knows what I might be able to target come off-season free agency. Maybe I can add somebody to the lower end of our starting pitching rotation that I like more than a Zach Thompson or a JT Brubaker. Nonetheless, like I said, a ton of stuff going on with the roster that I had to update you guys on, simply because of the importance of all of these moves and being at that trade deadline point. I will update you guys in the next video anytime a trade happens or anything like that, but we are going to continue to just chug through this season as much as possible. I will be trying to get you guys some gameplay. Like I said, I don't think in today's video I'm going to get you any gameplay. Once this is all cut up, it's probably going to be a long video nonetheless. I just do hope that you guys enjoyed the video, getting to see what's going on with the organization, getting to see where our plans are starting to unfold in terms of who's coming up, who's being forced to come up, injuries, all that stuff. And I'm sure that that's not our last major injury that we have to deal with. If there's going to be any more, we're going to be forced to lean on some of those prospects that I named that, you know, we might have to call up sooner than I would typically like. But if you did enjoy this video and you are enjoying this series, leave a like down below, comment, and subscribe. As always, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you guys have a good one.